Welcome to Meet the Candidates, the local election forum from Pioneer PBS. This season, we asked every candidate the same list of questions to learn more about what type of legislator they will be if elected. In this episode, we will meet candidates from Minnesota House District 16A. District lines have changed since the 2020 census. District 16A is made up of Chippewa and Renville County and portions of Meeker and Candy Ojai counties. Major cities include Litchfield, Montevideo, and Olivia. To find out which district you live in, visit mnvotes.org. And now, let's meet the candidates. We will start with the DFL candidate, Robert Wright.
Before we get started, I just want to thank Pioneer PBS for putting on this Meet the Candidates series. This is an invaluable service to our community, especially now with rural newspapers, getting less and less funding and more of them closing down. Our news sources are getting few and far between. I also want to thank the viewers here who've taken the time. This is an important election, just like the last election was, and just like the next election is going to be, into the foreseeable future. We're at a moment in history where we're having a really rough time with our democracy. Some of us are frightened that it won't last. And it's up to you, the voters, to make sure that you choose the right candidates moving forward that will protect and defend our precious democracy and keep this 250-year-old experiment going well into the future.
Why do you want to be the representative for your district?
Basically, the same reason that I'm running for state representative right now is the very same reason that I became active in partisan politics again after maybe it's been a good 30 years that I'd been away from it. But in the wake of the 2016 surprise and the obvious ramifications that threaten our democracy, it might sound corny to say this, but it's really a matter of patriotism. It's a patriotic call to stand up in defense of our precious democracy. We've got something really good going here, and we need to keep it going. Since that time, since we first had the election of Donald Trump that surprised us all, and then we had the insurrection, and then we had something else happen when we had the Supreme Court overturn the Roe decision from the 70s. And it's not so much that they overturned the decision, it's the way they did it. It's completely disrespectful of women. And basically they're saying that anything that's not explicitly spelled out in the Constitution isn't a protected right. So essentially that wipes out our right to privacy. It threatens all kinds of other rights, and it's like I was speaking about this before a group just a couple days ago. Republicans, they told us that we had nothing to worry about, and frankly, from the history of Republicans telling us not to worry about something, that's the time you really need to start worrying. We're going to see things like access to birth control. Those are going to go bye-bye if we aren't careful here.
What are your priorities for the next legislative session?
Priorities for the next legislative session are really simple. Defending democracy is always number one, because if we lose our democracy, everything else kind of becomes moot. We have a lot of problems. We have a lot of issues before us that are really serious, things like climate change. I mean, these are things we need to deal with. But if we lose our democracy, we're not going to have a say in those things. Whoever, dictator, king, whatever, it doesn't really matter what extreme they come from, they're going to make our decisions for us, and we're just cut out of the loop, and that is no way to move forward. So that's number one priority. A close second is dealing with this issue around family planning and women's rights, and all of us having the rights to, the right to privacy, the right to choose our own destinies, to make our own family planning decisions, not have the government in the room making them for us or having any say whatsoever. These are private decisions. They need to be made privately, like they always have been. Now, what we need to do is take this issue off the table, and the best way I can think of to do that is put two proposed amendments on the ballot for voters to give it the thumbs up or the thumbs down. First is the ERA. At the state level, our state constitution, we can put an amendment on the ballot and let the people honestly decide whether we're going to honor it, or whether we're going to honor women and treat them equally with men or not. It'd be interesting if we chose not to. And the other thing is to codify Roe, the protections of Roe, make them explicitly part of our Minnesota state constitution so that there's none of this shenanigans with saying it's not explicitly spelled out, so it's not a right. No more of that. We got to end that.
What unique perspective do you bring to the Minnesota House?
Well, that's another easy question to answer. I think I touched on this before. I'm one of the remaining of the last generation that can remember what it's like to have a government that actually kind of sort of functions. Since even back in the 60s when we had some real challenges before us, and we certainly did. We had the racial issues in the 60s right before we passed the Civil Rights Act. Those were just brutally serious moments in our nation's history, but there was never a doubt that we were moving forward, that we were working, we were trying to find solutions to our problems, build a consensus around solutions. That was always a given. It's not a given anymore. Now we've got we've got competing extremists from both fringe edges of the political spectrum trying to dominate our politics, and that's just not how democracy works. Democracy is about building solutions to problems that we can all, maybe not perfect, maybe nobody views them as perfect solutions, but everybody can buy in and say, this is a reasonable way to move forward. That's how democracy works. It's why it works so well. It's because we all move forward together.
What is your vision for the future of Minnesota?
Minnesota's long had a reputation as a leader in this country. We've been on the leading edge of more issues than I can count. We've been a leader in education. We've been a leader in providing excellent health care with resources like the Mayo Clinic, for example, at the University of Minnesota. We've always been on the cutting edge of the future. We've always had an eye towards the future, and both parties have generally worked pretty well together. The word progressive has kind of changed its meaning. Back in the 60s, 70s, and even into the 80s, progressive was about making progress. It wasn't about a far left ideology. It was about actually making progress on issues, on both social and scientific issues as well. It was about moving forward in all ways. It's about embracing the future and striving to do better going into the future. So my vision is that we go back to moving forward. Sounds counterintuitive, but it's not. We once did it, we can do it again. It's really that simple. We got to get back to being a leader. We need to make our education system what it once was. And when Dr. Jensen talks about taking us back to an education system that works, he's talking about doing it by budget cuts. And I'm just not really sure exactly how that works. Let's cut the budget to improve our education system? I don't think so. We need to increase our education budget, and we need to get serious about offering college now so that the kids can compete in the 21st century that's becoming more and more technical in nature. And
now, a closing statement.
moving forward, this decision that we're going to make here locally about who's going to represent us in the House of the State House of Representatives in St. Paul, most of us are going to have a new representative in January. The bulk of this new district that we're in is made up of the old District 17A that's currently represented by Tim Miller, and for those of us that are in that portion of the district, we are going to have a new representative, and it's going to be we're going to have a very different representative. Neither Dean Erdahl nor myself is really that much like Tim Miller. I appreciate the job that Dean's done. I especially like what he's done with bringing back civics education in Minnesota. I think that's really important in our public schools, and if I'm elected, I'll double down on that effort. I'd like to see civics being taught every single year in our public, in K through 12. We need to be graduating students from high school that actually understand how our Constitution works, how democracy works, understand not just, the idea that majority rules, but democracy is about building a consensus around solutions to problems, that sort of thing. Aside from that, we're very different people. Dean's about as conservative as you can get. Well, I'm a little more, I see government and the private sector as something that needs to exist in balance. We need both. We need both a healthy public sector and we need a healthy private sector. Beyond that, we really need to get back to respecting each other, men, women, black, white, the whole 9 yards. This, trying to blame problems on this group or that group, we got to end that.
You can find more information online about Robert Wright at his website, wrightforus.org. Next, the Republican candidate, Dean Erdahl.
I'm State Representative Dean Erdahl. For the past 20 years, I've represented portions of central Minnesota in the State House of Representatives. My current district is comprised of Meeker County, 3 townships in McLeod County, including half the city of Hutchinson, and 1 township, Cokato, in Wright County. Redistricting has placed me in the newly created District 16A, which encompasses the western half of Meeker County, including Litchfield, the southeast corner of Candy-Ojai County with Lake Lillian, East Lake Lillian, Lake Elizabeth, and Fallon townships, and all of Renville and Chippewa counties. I'm a native of Litchfield. I live on a hobby farm near Grove City. My wife Karen and I have been married now for 51 years, and we are the parents of 3 sons. We have 11 grandchildren, 1 great-grandson, and a dog, Buster. Prior to my time in the legislature, I taught history at New London Spicer High Schools. I currently serve on the Legacy, Education Policy, and Capital Investment Committees. I have served as chair of Legacy and Capital Investment. I'm the author of 9 published books, many of them about the history of Minnesota. Uprising was my first book, deals with the U.S.-Dakota War of 1862. We're currently making a movie about it, trying to foster education, understanding, and healing because wounds are still open. This is one of the most important elections in recent memory. It can be generational in impact. Greater Minnesota is faced with many challenges and needs. I have the knowledge, experience, and skills needed to meet these challenges.
Why do you want to be the representative for your district?
The people of Greater Minnesota face challenges that must be addressed. They need someone willing to stand up and fight for them. The housing situation in our part of Minnesota is deplorable. Most of the cities have shortages. I know of a situation in Litchfield where a house went up for rent and had 300 applicants within a week. I have authored workforce housing legislation as well as CCAP funding for homes. People who have jobs should have places to live where they work. Another area of concern is daycare. The number of centers is dwindling as we continue to overregulate and undercompensate them. It is nearly impossible to get people to work in Greater Minnesota if they have no place to live and no one to take care of their children. Our local roads and bridges, our infrastructure are in disrepair and demand attention. In the last bonding bill under consideration, I included a record amount of funding for local transportation and water projects. It is our responsibility to take care of what the state owns, the buildings, the infrastructure, and as a member of the Capital Investment Committee, I take that responsibility very seriously.
What are your priorities for the next legislative session?
First, I think we have to ensure public safety. Criminals need to be locked up and not given bail-free slaps on the wrist. We must adequately fund our police to make sure they have the tools that they need to keep us safe. Regarding taxation, we have a nearly $12 billion surplus that's projected. Could be different, but that's what we know today. Most of that surplus needs to be returned to the people. Only 12 states tax Social Security, and we are one of them. I supported exempting the Social Security tax. In education, I support a transparent system in which parents have the right to know what and how their students are being taught. Saying that, I know that we must avoid being so prescriptive that teachers can't teach. We are failing our students in the education of civics. 1 in 4 are proficient in graduation in civics knowledge. Only 25% actually know how this government works when they graduate from high school. I am a recognized leader of civics education reform in Minnesota, and we will soon see civics courses that are credit-bearing and taught to juniors and seniors who are ready to learn it. Our schools must educate, not indoctrinate. As I indicated earlier, our state infrastructure needs must be addressed, and as past chairman of the committee, I am well qualified to deal with those needs. I've worked with others to develop a platform for education of elections and voter integrity. I'm not dwelling in the past regarding elections, but rather on what must be done in the future to make sure that our elections are fair.
What unique perspective do you bring to the Minnesota House?
My time in the House has enhanced the knowledge and skills that I have needed to do my job as state representative. I have the tenacity and skills to get bills passed. I'm proud of what I've been able to do in education and bonding. I was the author of the bill to restore our beautiful state capitol. I'm able to bring together legislators of both parties to pass bills. After a committee meeting last session, a Democrat member called me to say, "I just want to thank you for the way that you do your job." My response was, if you're here to do the best you can for the people you represent, if their interest comes first, the path forward is clear. Now, this may come as a surprise to you, but floor speeches are mostly for show and rarely sway anyone. One DFL member was asked if she had ever switched her vote based on a floor speech. She replied, "Representative Erdahl's civic speech. I voted yes after being a no. In a recent survey, I was rated as one of the best speakers in the House. That does aid in getting things done. Most importantly, I have the ability to forge coalitions across party lines to reach consensus. I am an experienced committee chair and will hit the ground running to get things done."
What is your vision for the future of Minnesota?
I'm proud to be a Minnesotan, but I'm also deeply concerned about our path to the future if we don't take action in various ways. Our education system was once the best in the country. Now we have failing schools in urban areas and are beginning a slide to mediocrity in some of our core subject areas. We must and can regain our status as a model for schools in other states. It is essential that the state of Minnesota takes care of what it owns. Our roads and bridges, our buildings, our water systems, our infrastructure must be maintained and preserved. I firmly believe in the resourcefulness of Minnesotans, and we must free them and the business community from undue regulations that stifle the economic growth of our state. Yes, we have challenges in the future, but we will surmount them and thrive with sound education, good infrastructure, and a citizenship unimpeded and free to move ahead.
And now, a closing statement.
I'm a lifelong Minnesotan. My mother's family came to central Minnesota in 1856 and became deeply involved in the history and civic life of the area. As I left my small country church on Sunday mornings with my parents, my mother would often point out the monuments in the cemetery and my ancestors' role in our history. My great-great-grandfather was Ole Halvorsen Ness, who came from Nesbø in Norway in 1846, settled in the Litchfield area before it was Litchfield. In 1856, was active in the U.S.-Dakota War of 1862. In fact, he helped to bury the first 5 who were killed in that war, which I think is one of the things that instilled in me a desire to learn more about this and to teach about it and to develop the understanding and the education that's needed. Civic life was important to my family, and those ideals were instilled in me when I was a child. Karen and I have children and grandchildren. It is vital that the world we leave for them has the promise and possibilities that we were given by those who came before. I have said that this election is generational in impact, and it is. How and what we teach our children will shape the future. Let it be a future of hope, of promises realized, and with expectations of greatness. I ask for your vote on November 8th, that I may continue to fight for your values and for greater Minnesota. Thank you.
You can find more information online about Dean Erdahl at his Facebook page, facebook.com/Rep Dean Erdahl. Learn more about voting, how to register, and what district you live in by visiting the Minnesota Secretary of State website at mnvotes.org. Remember, Election Day is Tuesday, November 8th. Thank you for watching Meet the Candidates on Pioneer PBS.